Welcome to LDC Now Episode VI. We are established by and for the Linux Distro Community and supporters of free open source software. Don't forget to interface with our magnificent mothership at www.linuxdistrocommunity.com. Chat with us on IRC, definitely. Join us on the forums or shoot at us on game nights. It's about damn time for LDC Now. How you doing, gang?
I'm good. How are you doing, Kleptos?
I'm fine as wine in the damn summertime, but it's not summertime right now. What about you, Morningstar?
It's winter, man. There's like snow on the ground and stuff. I don't know. I'm glad to be here. It's good to do this. Got one more show coming, I think, before the new year. So it's been a good ride.
Yeah, we're doing about as best as we can and sort of breaking ground and learning at the same time. And we got a full show here. We're going to be talking about WeChat. We're going to be talking about System D. We're going to be talking about the new Fedora release. It just goes on.
Sounds like a big show that we have up.
And a bit of gaming, too. A big game review there. Off the jump, I have to say something. Man, I'm gonna put some hardcore loving on thinkpenguin.com, man. I love the way they do business, dude. I bought a new what they call a little Wii mini PC from them, and it's like it works out of the box, no proprietary drivers, no binary blobs, just out of the gate, man. Slap a Linux distro on it, everything works perfectly, and I'm loving it. And I just love the way they do business, and they're just prompt with everything, and they inform you, and they're just good to go. Morning. I think you had some experience with them as well.
Yeah, I had looked at buying one of the Emperor Penguin laptops a while back. I never did, but I bought a bunch of swag, a bunch of stickers for my laptop at one time from Think Penguin, and I had a really cool experience too. When they sent the stickers, they actually sent me a little letter thanking me, and it was awesome. It was a good experience. I like Think Penguin.
I've never heard of Think Penguin. If I'm up for another computer in the next few years, I'll definitely think them first.
The cool thing about Think Penguin is that they have the sort of FOSS, open source hardware kind of mindset, where if they can, they'll make sure that your hardware can be used without all the crap that's added normally. When you buy a Lenovo or Dell PC, and so they have that mindset. And they do. I think they do back GNU as well, and so they're a great bunch of guys and gals. And when you're buying your hardware, you're supposed to be buying it from companies that value free open source software and value Linux and hardware as well. And there's only two really that I know of, which is Think Penguin and Zarizen that does it. I know that System 76 does it as well, but I believe they buy pre-established hardware from other companies and sort of do it up. And so it is what it is. But let's just get into the show. Any thoughts before that?
The only thing I would have mentioned too was that actually I think the Trisquel, the GNU Linux distro, actually promotes a lot of Think Penguin stuff. So if you're interested in any of that free and open source software, definitely look into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's jump into WeChat for a bit. And WeChat is one of my favorite IRC clients. It's what I use. It's a terminal client. They do have some extra options available, like for on Android or for certain little GUI options where you can connect to the server as well from a client. It's very cool. But let's get into the filters. Sometimes you just don't want to see all the crap going on. Morning, you can jump in on this. How you set up your filters?
Yeah, in the earlier shows, you'll notice too that I was using Awesome Window Manager before I was on this KDE environment. And when I was using WeChat, just when we're filming the chat room, we want to protect everybody. So we don't want to give out their join and quit and part messages. So some things you can do in WeChat is you can actually set up all these different filters so that it handles, it'll hide the join and part messages, among other things. I can't think of some off the top of my head. But that was one that we use a lot, was to remove the join and part filter, the join and part messages. And if you go into WeChat, and I believe it's /help filter, it brings up a whole list of all the different filters that you can set up and a few examples of each one. There's so much that you can filter in and out with that. So it's actually really, really awesome.
Well, I mean, for me, when I'm in, let's say, 3 or 4 chat rooms, and, you know, sometimes those chat rooms are not as active as they should be, and all you see is a bunch of join and part messages all day long, you know, filling up the screen, you really don't need to see that, okay? And so you can add that filter and get rid of that. I mean, everything is very customizable to an extreme with WeChat. And if you have interest in layouts and different things like that, or whether or not you want your channel list to be at the top or you want to be at the bottom or whatever have you, that's also configurable as well.
You know, one thing I really liked about WeChat too was that there's actually like there's a lot of little config files where you can set up all your auto join rooms. You can set up the server to connect to automatically. You can use an SASL username and password to log in, and it's a great little IRC client, especially if you like those terminal windows.
I've seen some some videos and some screenshots of some crazy setups on WeChat, which is to the extreme. Irish, what do you use, man?
I also use WeChat, but mine's just pretty plain. I have list of channels on my left-hand side, people who are in those channels on the right-hand side, and the text in the middle. And I'm looking to put some filters on because some of my channels that I join, that's all I see is has entered, has quit, has joined, has done this, that. I'm like, well, I don't need to see all that but the text. So I might definitely put some of these filters on.
You know, one other cool thing about the filters is with WeChat, like with conversation, which I'm using now on KDE, I have to go into settings and edit and configure conversation just to turn those back on. With WeChat, you can actually hit like Alt equals, and then it'll toggle the filters so that if you want to check and see, hey, where's this person go? They're not. How many people have come and gone in the last hour? You can just with a quick key combination toggle that on and off.
And also, really connecting to the web securely is important in WeChat. And they do have SSL SASL support. And when I set up WeChat with SSL, man, you connect to these servers so fast and so quickly, and you're authenticated so quickly to where before it was pretty quickly, like it was pretty slow to where it would say, okay, this is your host name, and do you have an identity, do you have this, that, and the other. But once you set up SSL, it's fairly quick. Any thoughts on that, Morning?
Yeah, one thing I had noticed too was using SASL because I have a cloak on Freenode. With SASL, I don't have to worry about having it like delay and log in. It logs me in, and I mean, yeah, I actually have had a really good experience with SSL as well on WeChat.
Oh, that was the main problem I had when I wasn't using SSL. Was that when I joined, let's say I joined the channel, my real IP address would join first, and then maybe a couple seconds later, then you know my cloak would show up. And when you set up SASL on it, it's done quickly, immediately, and no matter how many times you join with how many different clients, it all shows up like the same if you have a cloak, and so it's pretty nice.
Yeah, I definitely feel like there's a lot that WeChat has to offer. I think and you know, one thing I've also noticed too is that it works great with like tmux, and you can set up like click links, which you're using URXVT, and be able to click your links and open them in your default web browser. There's a lot of stuff that you can really do to make WeChat fit for you.
Now, my favorite hotkey is Alt M, where you can sort of alternate between scrolling or if you want to click on links. And so it's fairly easy, Alt M, and also switching between channels. If you know the number of the channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, channel 4, you can just hit escape in 1 and 2 and 3, and you can switch between those channels fairly easy. WeChat is just awesome. Any thoughts there, Irish?
Well, I must have like something wrong with my WeChat configuration because anytime I go in, I have SSL going and it just says can't identify host name, but it still logs me in as my host name. So I don't know, maybe there's something up with that, but yeah, I definitely like WeChat over XChat or HexChat or Conversation or wherever the other IRC channels are.
I mean, there's one thing too for me, having being on conversation and being used to WeChat. I do notice that I'm a lot more at home with being able to just slap my keyboard around and move rooms and copy and paste and all that. It's if you're one of those people that likes lightweight experiences and likes terminals, likes doing things from the command line, it's you can't go wrong with WeChat.
No, and there are options available for different clients, even an Android client. I hear, and it's just all around awesome. And it's to me, it's just perfect. For those people who just want to get in a chat, you could do that. For those people who want to tweak, I mean, my God, man, there's a hell of a lot of tweaking to be done on WeChat. But Irish, man, what you got going on here in the second round here with scripting 101?
Well, back in the days when I was distro hopping back and forth through the different variants of Ubuntu and Debian, I got tired of, having to go and do all the updating and all of, getting all my programs set. So I decided to start scripting, which in batch script, which is essential, I think, if you want to become like a Linux administrator or just want to learn something more with Linux. So I created a very basic script that will get my system updated and all my programs uh, installed for me without me really having to do anything, so I can just play around with it, customizing it, and I don't have to worry about anything else. We will have a description of my script in the link below, so I can try to explain it to you guys right now. So here's my script that I was saying. It's fairly basic. I can just run through this really quick. Anytime you see the echo and then the text, you'll see that in the terminal when you do this, and then the read is you're reading the input of the person. So read -p, and then you just press enter, and then it will just go. So, and then the sleep are just pauses, so pausing for 1 second. So first thing I like to do anytime I installed a new Ubuntu derivative was to update the system. That's always a good way to do it with any distribution that you go to. If you just just basic apt-get update, apt-get dist upgrade, so that should update your system. And then my common apps, I just like to you know apt-get install mumble xchat, all of these. Now you may see that the Google Talk plugin is on here twice. I could probably actually get rid of this one because I have the PPA for it. So the next thing I like to do is install the PPAs. So I love the new mix themes, especially the new mix circle icon. I think it is very beautiful and very well done. One of the old text editors I like to use back then was Sublime. Every now and then I'll still do it. So this is the apt-get repository or PPA for it. And then the Google Talk plugin is the newest version of it. I'm a Dropbox person, so once you can add much more into this, you just type in the pathway, the sudo apt key advance, all that stuff to get this. And then anytime you do an upgrade, it's nice to clean out the cache so it doesn't build up too much. And then if I wanted to reboot the system, and that's it. So again, it's very basic, and it just got the job done what I needed it to do. How I formed this was I watched 2 videos by a fellow Linux YouTuber named Oh Hey It's Lou. I'll put the two videos that he's done in the description below. It is very well done. He explains this better than me, and yeah, I will put it there, and it is very well done. If you guys have any questions, just put it down into the in the description below, or sorry, in the comments below if you have any questions on this. But this will be in a link down below so you guys can tweak it how you like.
That'd be great, man. Yeah, I'm one person who I don't do a lot with scripting, so I think these little scripting 101 segments are going to be a great experience for me to pick up a few new things. So yeah, definitely run with it, Irish.
I mean, I do a lot of scripting, a lot of different things. Whether it's on an Archbox, I push all my AUR packages to one folder, and I can install them all with one alias setup. I mean, there's a lot of different things you can do as far as scripting goes, and really, it's about those jobs that you don't want to do, or those commands that you run all the time that you could just do like a bunch of commands with one command, and that makes all the difference. And speaking of scripting, my God, the mother of all scripting, System D. Okay, I remember the old days on Ubuntu, where it was, you had like the whole setup where let's say you wanted to start 5 or 6 different services, and you're trying to remember, what exactly you did, and with Upstart, and Systemd is a different animal. Some people love it, some people like it, some people hate it, but it's great. So, Morningstar, let's just get into it about Systemd, the holy of holies, what we can do, and something easy for the newbies.
So one thing that I really wanted to mention too was for newbies who don't know, what is Systemd? And so Systemd is a service suite. It actually handles a lot of different stuff in the background, like starting different applications or running little blips that you might call a service, and automating all that so that upon boot you can have all your stuff started like you would with a init scripts. The difference with Systemd too is that you can start, enable, stop, disable. You can reload all your daemons with the same set of tools. And Irish, did you want to talk a little bit about starting or stopping daemons?
Yeah, it's I feel it was a lot simpler with Systemd than with the init systems in like Ubuntu and the others. So what you do is you just type in sudo systemctl start and then whatever the daemon or the service is. But if you want to start it at boot, instead of saying start, you would just say enable service or daemon.
Yeah, I think that one of the big things too is that whenever you install something, there's some distros like OpenSUSE I noticed enabled a lot of different, like I could install an application and it might automatically enable the service, but in some other distros you actually have to go into the command line and start or stop or disable or enable a daemon. And so it's really important to know how to do that. I think it's fair if we put that little command or a series of those commands in the description as well.
Oh, I remember the days when you had to like chmod X a service for it to even start. In the good old days. I believe I did that on OpenBSD in the early days, and so it's a new day with Systemd. One of my favorites is the journaling system, where it's called journalctl, where if I want to look at all my cron jobs I have set up, I just do journalctl -u, which is unit, cronny, and -b for like most recent date or whatever have you, and it shows me all the cron jobs that's been done, run, and those that didn't run, and the most recent time period, and that's really great. That way you can see what's going on. It's kind of like a demessage kind of style, if you will.
Another thing too about, you mentioned the difference between init scripts and Systemd. One thing that init scripts did is it would start a service, and then it would have to finish that service before it moved on. And with Systemd, you can actually do multiple services starting and getting ready at the same time. So that actually, I've noticed boot time is a lot quicker with Systemd compared to init scripts.
Also, when let's say that you just changed a bunch of config files, like let's say 10 config files, you changed all 10. Well, you could let's say stop and start all of those, but with Systemd you can just type sudo systemctl daemon dash reload, and it will reload all that stuff and start it back up for you, which is very nice.
Systemd definitely consolidates most of my services and my boot processes. I feel like at first it was a little hard to learn to write some systemd units, but you get into the swing of it. A little bit of experience there, and we also will include a Wikipedia page too about systemd a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I was sort of half in, half out on systemd. Just maybe a couple years ago, but I'm all in now. I love it, and it just streamlines everything as far as Linux systems goes. Let's say you're an administrator and you're managing 10 systems, and you want them all to run the same services. It's so easy to do in systemd, and so applicable in systemd as far as what you do it the hard way. On the old init scripts, my God, it was just torture. Although the worst torture in my life ever was working on Windows NT, but I'll tell that story another day. We're going to jump into Fedora has a new release, and I'm way out of my depth on Fedora. I've never even tried it. I tried Red Hat, the early Red Hat back in the day, but I've never used Fedora. I'm going to have to jump into it. But who wants this one, guys?
I can take it. Yeah, Fedora came out on last Tuesday, and this was a pretty big release. It comes out with the new GNOME, I think the new KDE 4 series, and it is a very nice system. I really like it, so I might be switching over to Fedora tonight. Okay, so Fedora usually comes with a package manager called Yum or Yumx. So all you have to do is type in sudo yum, install this, search that. It's really nice, but they are starting to phase Yum out, which really saddens me. I really like Yum. It's pretty fast. It's almost as fast as, Pac-Man or even Zipper in OpenSUSE, but they are slowly phasing that out for another package manager backend anyway. It's called DNF, and I've played around with it a little bit. It's the same thing. If you ever used Yum or Zipper or any of those package managers, you just replace Yum with DNF, and you can do. It is really nice. I think it's going to be a nice replacement from Yum.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing whether or not that is faster or comparable to Yum. Yum's been around for a long time.
Yeah, plus, also with other releases of Fedora, it came with, you can do different flavors of Fedora. So like GNOME, KDE, Mate, all those. But it looks like they shortened it down a little bit or increased the different types that you can have. So now there's 3 flavors of Fedora that you can download right now. One's called Workstation, the other one's Cloud, and the other is Server, it being off of Red Hat service. So I would think that would, make a nice fit.
There's so much that goes on with Fedora, and they bring a lot to the table. As far as bringing great code, I mean, those are the guys who brought systemd to the table, and everybody's beginning to adopt it, and so it's good to see them, kind of reinventing themselves and sort of bringing new things to the table at the same time that we all love and adore. And we'll keep an eye on Fedora. I'm probably going to give it a spin myself because I've never ever tried Fedora in my entire life, and so it's about damn time. And speaking of other great distros, Linux Mint has a new one out. Now I'm a Mate addict. I'm always on Mate. I love Mate. I love Cinnamon, but sometimes a little too heavy for me or just not my style. I just go back to Mate. I sort of switch between the two. Both are awesome, but Linux Mint has a new release. Now probably not going to get into the whole details, devils in the details until we sort of give it a good run. But any thoughts on this one?
I think the Linux Mint guys have been rolling well. They've been keeping up, and it was only few years ago I first heard about Mint, so they're one of the big kings now, which is great.
Yeah, I started on Mint, and it is a very nice place to start. I got one of my friends into Linux, and I started him on the Mate version of 17, Mint 17, Kiana, but this one is 17.1, which is codename Rebecca. I don't know if they're going to be running out of girl names anytime soon for these releases.
Do they have a Tina yet?
I don't know.
Now, the cool thing about Linux Mint is that it sort of brings some extra to the table that Ubuntu didn't deliver at one time. I mean, it has the the PPA manager, it has like other little niceties that you can sort of have a contrast between that and Ubuntu. And a friend of mine who'd been on Ubuntu for like 5-6 years had never even heard of Linux Mint. And once I told him about it, he was on it and absolutely loved it. And really, it really doesn't matter what Linux distro you use. They're all great. They're all excellent. It just depends on what you want in a distro and what you're interested in. And you just go for it. My God, man. Don't be bashing other distros. They're all great. We would not have what we have without them, without each and every one, because they all sort of bring something unique and great about Linux. And so, hell. And speaking of Linux, oh my God, sad. I'm sad now. The hackers are after Linux. What are we gonna do? We got an article here. Macs and Linux come under attack as the threat landscape shifts. Morningstar, does that mean we're getting a little props here? We get more people on Linux?
I honestly take it as a win. Yeah, I mean, no matter what, if you have any system, you are vulnerable. There are always going to be things that people can exploit and kind of crunch a little bit to get you into a tough spot. But they notice us. The bad guys notice us, and that makes me feel proud.
Yeah, well, I can't say I don't blame them for switching to Linux, starting to attack because shit, like almost every other day, some government is switching over to Linux or having their own variant of Linux or something like that. So, I guess you got to go where the meat is nice and juicy.
The meat is nice and juicy, yeah. Nice. Okay, let me read a bit of this. The latest monthly report from Internet Security Specialist Dr. Webb. Ooh, that sounds like a great bit of antivirus software, Dr. Webb. Yeah, I've used it before. Anyways, shows that whilst Windows and Android users have no cause for complacency, November saw substantial numbers of malicious programs aimed at macOS and Linux platforms. Look, hackers are using Linux against Linux. That's just not good. It's no bueno. It's not good. But Linux is getting more popular. I mean, in all the damn TV shows, they're displaying Linux. NASA's using Linux to go wherever the hell they want to go. Movie people are making movies using Linux software, and so Linux is getting a bit of spotlight right now. We're still the red-headed stepchild until Microsoft stops funding attacks against us. But they see that we got a lot going on here, and maybe they want to, hack into a few systems. It's going to be difficult, but have at it, man. You better pack a lunch.
One thing I'll say too, and I've talked with people about this, is with Windows, I mean, security can be I don't know how to even word that, but with Linux, it's not so much that just once you install Linux, you're free from all threats. But this kind of shows that it's about beefing up and knowing how to keep your system secure so that you are safe, because it's only as secure as you make it.
Yeah, I was actually, there's also one more thing I saw that going through some of my subscriptions on my YouTube channel. It looks like there's another malware that is called Turla malware, and it usually attacked Windows. But it looks like the hackers reworked it, and now it's starting to attack Linux systems. There's a video from Quidsup on this, so we can put that in the subscription below if you guys are interested in that too.
I think it's sad, man. I think it's sad. We've been sort of off to the side, doing our own thing now. We're getting a little popular now. There's going to be, Ubuntu phones and tablets coming out. You got Jala coming out with their phones and tablets, and Linux is getting a little bit of spotlight. Now the hackers want to, bring us back down to Chinatown, man, but I'm just not having it. But moving forward, we got a game review. Morningstar, what you got for us, man?
So one of the games that we decided to review was this cool little platformer. I don't know. I won't even want to call it a 2D, but it's really like a 2D platformer where you can turn in like this 3D kind of perspective. A little platformer. You're this little dude named Gomez. You're jumping around and trying to solve little landscape puzzles because you have to turn the world you're in to be able to reach new areas of the map or move to other places. You're trying to collect these little cubes, and the coolest thing about it is you actually get to wear a little fez.
And as Doctor Who says, fezzes are cool.
I'm not a big Linux gamer, man, but I saw a video of this where like the landscape kind of shifts and it kind of moves back and forth, kind of messes with you and sort of at the same time, sort of hurting you from getting places, but at the same time helping you if you can time it. Cool game, man. I need to get on the Linux bandwagon when it comes to games. There's so many good games coming out now for Linux. I mean, we're talking about A+ titles coming out for Linux, and I need to get on the bandwagon.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
One thing I was going to say about Fez that I really enjoyed is I looked at it on Steam a few times and said the same thing, Kleptos. That was kind of cool. Once I got to play it, it's a really cool game. I mean, review aside and just my opinion, it's pretty fun. It was cool to get into it. It keeps me busy. It's something that I can play when I've got 20 minutes to kill and don't want to go shoot some zombies. I think it's a great game. Irish, what was your take on it?
The first time I heard about it was in a documentary called Indie Gamer. It's on Netflix if anyone's interested, and they go with the history of Fez and Super Meat Boy. But this was like the guy's first time doing the game by himself, and it is an awesome game. It's so cool how you can rotate the background. It looks like a 2D until you can rotate it, and it's I don't even know what it would be between 2D and 3D, 2.5D, I guess you could do. But
yeah, it's a really weird one too. I didn't mean to cut you off there. I was just gonna say too, like sometimes you'll turn the board and you'll actually be able to access something that you couldn't another way, and if you turn it back, it's a bizarre. It's a mind trip.
yeah, it really is, and I am a big puzzle gamer because that's one of the reasons why I like Zelda is because of the puzzles in that game, and you can still get the action and stuff. Fez is like strictly all puzzles. You have to find these cubes, like how Morning said. There's like a little story behind it. The guy Gomez gets his Fez, and then this big ass cube like decides to break up into smaller little pieces, and you have to find anti-cubes, and those are a lot harder to find, and it's a really cool game. I definitely recommend playing at least watching some videos on it, and maybe downloading it in Steam or on, I think it's also in the Xbox store too.
It's an Xbox? That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's on many of the stores on like PS, the PlayStation Network and Xbox. Yeah,
That's cool. It's a great game. I love it.
That's good for games, like that. I think games like that, help you to think and think critically, and especially good for kids. Instead of like murder simulations, games like these would be much better. Especially like you said, Morningstar, an Irish, puzzle games and things like that. Sort of help you sort of maybe think a little more, think a little better. And it's good that Linux is getting these games, man. I'm all getting puffed up with pride here with the fact that Linux is getting a little love now. We used to be the poor redheaded stepchild, but now we're coming into our own, man. Oh God.
Kids are growing up.
yeah. It's also a nice, refreshing thing because a lot of the games out there are just first-person shooters, and they're the same game practically. You're a guy running and gunning, going from A to B. Where this one, it makes you think. I love games that makes you think.
Yeah.
Actually, America's Army was a game made by the Army, and they had it so much so that people playing the game were such like twitch trigger finger shooters that they were actually hiring them for the Army. So I think games like these are far better and far better for you.
Yeah, I definitely think that it's original. It's not like something I've seen before. So it's really great. It was a fun one to play.
And the graphics reminded me of like some of the old games I played back when I was a kid too.
The last game I played on Linux was No More Room in Hell with PDQ and Dragon Keeper, and all I did was try to figure out the keys, and I got 8 most of the time, running for my life with weapons in my hands.
You have to play with me in morning. We're pretty good at that game.
Are you kidding me? I'm terrible. The other day we were playing and PDQ's like covered me. I let her get bit a couple times and then I shot the zombie.
Man, you're a horrible teammate. Jeez.
Man, with this, we wrap it up. Although, do you guys have any final thoughts? I have thoughts on all kind of things. I'm strange, but I'm going to start with you there, Irish. Any thoughts going on with you as far as Linux goes in general?
I just decided to make my laptop full Linux, so I am determining if I want to stay on Arch or move to Fedora or OpenSUSE. If any of you guys think of a cool distro or window manager or whatever that you think I should use for like at least the next month, let us know in the comments below or on the forums or even in the IRC channel. Let me know, and I'm open for anything.
I'll throw in too that I had just gotten this new machine and I'm dealing with Catalyst woes, but luckily I got those drivers up and running. I had kept OpenSUSE on the laptop here. Like I said, I'll be running it for another 5 or so months now. And then the desktop's got Arch over there. Things are set up the way I want. I feel like it's been a good 2 weeks of working through everything. But yeah, I'm glad to be where I'm at. I think that definitely someone like Irish might need to try some new window managers or some new distros. I definitely have enjoyed trying different ones myself.
Yeah, I'm actually waiting for LXQT to get further in development, and I'm probably going to adopt that pretty soon. I think sometimes we forget, how great Linux really is. I remember the days when it was totally, completely, non-stable and glitchy, and it was in its infancy. And now, we take it for granted how great it really is. Most of the time it doesn't crash on us. It's secure. It doesn't require much of us except for some basic upkeep. It's kind of like a pet, pet penguin, man. And it's great, and I love to see how far it's come. I was saying in the chat room that I remember one of the first kernels I used was 2.0.33, and I remember that because of all the new things and all the compatibility with my hardware. I was surprised because back then you didn't get a lot of Linux compatibility with hardware, and so we're coming along, man. We're making great strides, and all those people out there developing great software and hardware to go along with Linux, we salute you, man.
Yeah, I definitely will throw in there that there have, coming from back in the day when I first started using Ubuntu way back, and almost nothing worked. Wi-Fi was a dream, and you had to use NDIS wrapper. I think you're right. I think it's important to remember our roots and look how far we've come as a community-based operating system.
No, I totally agree with you guys. I haven't been using Linux as much as long as you guys have, so I think I came in at the correct time, where it's the start of the golden age. I believe. I think it's just gonna get better from here.
Let me tell you guys a story as we wrap this up. I was system administrator working on NT. Sorry. I had a mental image of that. And whenever you install any software, you had to reboot. You had to update the system, you had to reboot. And one day, a friend of mine who I really didn't like that much, I put on a screensaver that was a blue screen of death. And at lunchtime, right before lunchtime, And I put it on there, and all of a sudden the blue screen popped up, and the guy started crying. I mean, tears are coming out of his eyes, okay? And he's like, I just fixed this hardware now. And I pressed the button, and the desktop came back, man. And needs to say he was not happy. And so I'm enjoying the Linux age, the Linux golden age, because I know about my roots and where I came from with the god-awful NT and the god-awful ME and the, okay, kind of sort of decent, 98, man. And it's awesome, and I'm happy to be here because I was tortured in my youth with NT.
Yeah, I definitely have done similar things with a background that says your hard drive has been successfully deleted. Please reboot to continue.
Oh God, that's harsh, man.
Yeah, one thing I'll say too is if you guys like the show, hit the like button. If you want to see more of these shows and you want to see what we're putting out there, click that subscribe button. If anything you wanted to add or think we should do, leave in the comments. And unless anybody else has anything else to add.
No, I think our next episode will probably be our New Year's one, where we're just gonna the drunken episode. It will be, so stay tuned for that.
Beer?
Yeah,
Beer.
or whiskey or scotch or anything that's delicious.
I'm gonna be getting hammered on New Year's anyway, so that just gives me an excuse to do what I really want to do. But guys, this was episode 6, LDC Now, and it's been a pleasure. And your hosts have been Morningstar, Irishluck, and Kleptos. We'll do this again next Sunday, hopefully.
See you guys.
I can't believe I told that story.